take a few minutes and recognize the ominous day that is September 11th. Obviously, with myself, I don't have a whole lot of personal experience with this. I was very young when it happened. I didn't live in the area. I lived over in Idaho at the time, so obviously not too much connection with it. But from myself, I do want to thank all of the first responders and the people that reacted to that in the most heroic and brave way that they did. And also my hearts and prayers on these last couple days, this week, for these people, of the families of these people that were a part of the entire disaster. My hearts and my prayers go out to you, because you guys had to deal with something that none of us will have to deal with our entire lives. And it's a blessing to have you guys, and it's a blessing to have all those people that were there. You guys had a little bit more connection to this than I did.
Yeah. Rico, where were you? Were you still in New York?
I was in New York, but I was living in upstate New York, and at the time, it's like my mom still worked in Manhattan, and I
Is
was
Manhattan
honestly
relatively close
laying in bed, and I woke up
to the
To
towers?
what?
to
Yes.
Don't treat it like I am a fucking ignorant fuck for not knowing.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm from
sorry.
Idaho.
You're right.
I don't,
You're right.
I'm laughing at first, not you, Albie.
I'm
right?
sorry.
Yeah, you're like,
That was
oh, you don't know all the boroughs? No,
Way
fuck
to
you.
That was rude. You're right.
Continue with what I'm assuming is about to be a
Um,
heartfelt story, you shit.
The Twin Towers
No.
Ground Zero is based in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. But that's okay if you're not from the area. Then it's not expected. that you wouldn't
Is
know
it
that.
not
It's
expected?
like, there,
Now I'm the
Yep.
asshole.
no, there are things obviously that would affect you at a local level that won't affect
Yes.
you at a national level, right? So back to where I was at, like a fucking piece of shit. I had worked the previous night, and
'Cause you were an
I
adult,
was in
right?
bed, and I woke up, and yes, I was already an adult. I've been an adult for like 50 years. But,
So there it was, 62-year-old Rico.
77-year-old
Wow.
Rico crawling out of my adjustable bed. And
that song from that Spider-Man movie was playing in the
The
back.
fucking Post Malone.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, the Post Malone
Spider-Man.
song. That's exactly it. That Sunflower song. That's what I was thinking of.
That didn't come out 77 years ago. You're crazy.
Tell your goddamn
Stop
story.
interrupting.
No,
Yeah,
so
you're right.
I know you guys are
Trying to have a fucking
we're
moment.
trying to have,
But in the classic underqualified and overcompensated way, we're finding happiness in a dark place.
Yeah.
So Rico, continue, please.
Yes. So I worked the previous night. I got up and I was in bed and I turned on the TV and I see the story. The first plane has already hit, and it's it's everywhere.
Because that's when the
It's
news jumped
channel.
on it. Is that first plane hit, and the news was like, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll go into this in my story as well, but like, no one knew what was going on. They thought it was an accident. I think
no one knew
first,
it was
right?
really an attack until the second plane hit.
You're
from what I
100%
believe.
correct.
Well, that yes, but like when the first plane hit, it was mass confusion. All the news channels got in because they're like, "Holy shit! A plane just hit one of the Twin Towers." And Rico, please continue.
No. I mean, so yeah, that.
And of course, naturally, you were worried about your mom.
I was in upstate New York at the time. My mom was still working in Manhattan. Oh, of course, yeah. And it was just chaos.
Nope.
You couldn't get through to people. It was just like any other. No, that's a bad statement. I was going to say, was it just like any other natural disaster?
Yeah.
No, this wasn't a natural disaster. This was man-made. But it was obviously like that type of scenario.
Still that same amount of worry and concern and like chaos, just a different means.
And it was just a really rough time. The takeaways I have from it is I've never seen Americans be more American than those following days, just fucking being people that want to help each other
Yeah.
and just be amazing with each other.
Well, like the subsequent 5 years of that
We've lost
Yes.
that since
was
then.
the same
Yes.
attitude.
But-
We've lost it since then. We found it that day, and like I've heard that from several different people that have been involved. That you know, on ground zero, just the amount of like what you would imagine being America is, that spirit of it. You just saw that everywhere. I mean, I remember every year I see the story of Steve Buscemi. When he was younger, he was a part of a firehouse, and he went back to his firehouse like the day after the attack and volunteered with them for months afterwards. And Steve Buscemi is well into his like 50s at that point, 40s. And he went back to like volunteer, and just that spirit, like you were saying, Rico, was definitely prominent during
it was
that.
such a dark time. It
Yeah.
was such an amazing time.
People
to
were
be
definitely
American.
moved to do incredible things. And if it's some dude who's like, hey, I've been acting, but I've moved to do this. Or you take Jesus, the kid who was playing with the Arizona Cardinals. And then he went to be a Ranger.
Well, yeah, Chris Kyle was the same way.
Yeah.
No. But god damn, I'm ashamed of
No, I
myself
know
right
you're
now as
talking
someone who
about.
lived in Arizona.
You should be.
Beginning with a T.
Patrick Tillman.
Tillman, thank you.
I should also know that
Pat
name.
Tillman.
Yeah, my brother.
Yes.
Yeah,
We should all
my
know
brother
that name. This
has his
guy,
jersey.
he gave
Yeah.
up everything to go
So-
serve his country.
Yeah, so the dude played football at Arizona State, Sun Devils, and then was playing for the Cardinals, and then that happened, and he was like, nope, and then he joined the Rangers, and that dude just walked away from playing in the NFL,
Millions of dollars.
playing in the NFL,
What a fucking
and then he
hero, man.
joined the Army. And as the three of us know, I would assume the three of us very much enjoy and love being a part of the Army. Yes? For the most part?
I do. I mean, as much as like the days
Correct.
where we're just
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
what the fuck is
That's what I'm
this?
saying.
We do, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. All three of us.
That's
Exactly.
I mean, that could happen anywhere.
The dude
But I do love this
the dude who's
lifestyle
working
more
at
than anything else.
Dunkin' Donuts thinks the same thing. And we have it a lot better than that dude. The three of us love working for the Army. But
Yeah, I just had a
there's bullshit
great time.
involved in that. And
Yeah,
Pat Tillman went, hey, you know what, NFL and all your money? No, thank you. I'm going to jump into that.
Yeah, I'm going to go into the hardest parts of the military
And
be a fucking Ranger.
And then you think of like, especially now in 2019 and in 2001, this dude was like the first one into Afghanistan. Are you kidding me?
As a Ranger?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're heavily used. Yes,
Hero.
most definitely.
Oh,
But I mean, at that time, when something like that happens, you have to be. I mean, people talk about that same spirit, like during like the Great Depression. It was such a bad time for everyone. They all pulled together, and it was just this great American spirit that was present. And then when you have that massive disaster and just chaos that happened, this terrible, terrible thing, but something came alight of it, of this great American spirit of realizing that even though we have our differences, and that's what 9/11 reminds me of every year, is that even though we have our differences, we were all attacked that day. No matter where you lived, what religion you follow, your creed, where you grew up, it doesn't matter what your job was. We were all attacked on that day. And then we all subsequently came back together. And we've lost that since then, like you were saying. But if we could find that spirit again, obviously I hope it doesn't come down to another mass disaster. But
that's the shame of it all. That unfortunately does come to situations like that for everyone.
so Rico,
to get back together.
Do you want to like tell any more about that day? Because I have.
So I'm sure most of that day just spent with you
that's-
trying to get a hold of your mom, staring at the TV.
Yeah, just like watching everything and just like being in disbelief. I mean, really, it's at the time like it didn't. I saw what was going on, and I knew it was the ridiculous. And just seeing the way everyone came together, it was such a beautiful time to be a part of this country after the fact in such a dark time. And I was reminded of that earlier today when I was laying in bed before going to the gym for PT. and I was scrolling through Facebook, and there was a compilation video of just the scenes of all the tragedies and people calling their loved ones from the plane or from the different towers, and it hadn't hit me in a long time, but I'm not gonna lie, I freaking lost it for a little bit, because you get kind of removed from that, but like just seeing such a impactful video of it just like brought me back to it more so than
Well, like
even
I
the
brought
day
up to my
after.
wife today, September 11th just passed over for us. And it's partially being overseas. Like we're in a foreign country.
Yeah.
It's not as prominent.
Yeah.
We don't have American TV and stuff like that. So we don't see it as much. But and also with the training that we were part of, I didn't really have time to like sit down and realize what the day was. And the class was being led by a Brit anyway, so he's not going to point it out. But it just kind of passed over. Like there was no text messages, no, I didn't hear anything about it on AFN really. I didn't really see as much as I normally do on Facebook, which is usually the big one where it permeates. And sadly, I don't want it to be something like Pearl Harbor, right? Like we don't celebrate, but we memorialize Pearl Harbor.
Like, oh, it's Pearl Harbor Day. Oh shit!
Yeah, it's Pearl Harbor Day, but half the time you don't realize that unless you look at like the Google homepage,
exactly, and you're like, oh,
or fucking Facebook.
it's almost Christmas.
But that's where we're at though now. This is our D-Day.
Yes, this is
our Pearl Harbor.
Well, those are the only 2 attacks on American soil within the last 100 years.
No. So they're not. They're hard to compare because one was a military on military assault, and the other one was a terrorist on civilian assault.
Well, so it was military kinda. They did bomb a majority of the Hawaiian Islands that were there.
But they targeted a military establishment. September 11th, 2001 was a bunch of terrorists hijacking planes and driving them in to kill more civilians. Like that is, it's so hard to compare the two. And I get the mindset.
Well, I just don't want people to not remember because they are so significantly different.
Yeah.
I don't want people to forget 9/11 like they did Pearl Harbor.
So, and Rico, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm okay because I might go into a tangent in a little bit. And okay, and I agree. Rhodes, I actually feel bad you just bringing that up. Is that during this training we didn't bring it up?
No, we didn't. We totally forgot about it, and I felt like shit afterwards when I was going home.
Like thinking about that and being like, "Are you kidding me? We couldn't get everybody together." And the everybody international would have absolutely recognized it and just been like, "Hey, you know what? Let's take a minute and respect what happened today." You know?
Yeah.
And obviously, every soldier would have respected it, and every single international soldier would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah. And now you made me feel kind of shitty for not.
Yeah, right. You just realized that we kind of forgot about it,
and that's disrespectful.
I mean, you're putting that on yourself, and that's a lot of pressure for the situation. I mean, really, again, what I was alluding to just moments ago was we're moving further along to the situation where people who are just getting into the Army now at a young age weren't even potentially alive.
They weren't born for the war that they're fighting in.
Yeah. So, yes, out of respect, would there have been a moment of silence? Yes. Would they have the same reverence that you would have had?
So,
no.
So, I just want to tell my story about I want to tell my story about that day. Because I would have been I was a junior in high school, right? And the first time I heard something happened, I was walking the hallway. I think it was between second and third period, and someone ran through the hallway and was like, "The Chinese bombed us." And, yeah. And everyone,
Red Dawn.
Everyone's like, "What?" This kid goes like running down the hallway, being like, "The Chinese bombed us." So I
Because that's a solid first opinion.
right.
In 2001, it was the Chinese.
This dude just pulled it out of his ass. So in New
Wait,
Jersey.
where were you?
So I'm in
You were
high
in New
school in New Jersey, and a lot of
So you're all dumb, yeah.
no, shut the fuck up. And a lot of kids have their parents who commute up to New York, right? Um, and I'll
Yes,
talk about
that's
that as
definitely a
well
thing.
later. And so I get to this class, chemistry, and we have the TV on because we have TVs in the classrooms.
Yeah.
And because you know it's New Jersey, and also they're the thick as fuck TVs. You know they weigh about 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, it was 2001.
Exactly. And so
600-pound
exactly
13-inch
right.
TV.
That's exactly
Made
what
out of
we're
brick and mortar.
watching, right?
The picture's so realistic on
Yeah,
the
exactly.
screen.
It's jumping out at me. What is this? 380p? Yeah.
380p is the future.
Exactly.
Who needs more than this?
So we're watching, so at this point, the first plane had hit, and just like we were talking about earlier, no one knew what was going on. Was it an accident? Was it this? And so we're just
This was the Chinese.
it was definitely the Chinese, because the kid who ran down the hallway at Shawnee High School in Medford, New Jersey. Yeah,
It was birth.
it
Yep,
was
that
just
sounds
me.
like Jersey. It was you. Why are you putting it off
Hey,
on
Todd Stevenson, figure it out, cool?
It was-
Hey, listen, I just want to call out one person. So
Todd Stevenson.
So we're sitting in class,
it's your
right?
time now.
And we're like, holy shit, what's going on? And the teacher comes in and she switches off the TV. She's like, this isn't important. Let's learn about chemistry.
She said it wasn't important.
Yes.
That
She
one of the
turned
buildings that some of
Yep.
these kids' parents worked in. Yeah,
Why
why
was
was
your-
his teacher old Jewish?
You know what? I don't care. This is a dated reference, but why was your teacher Phyllis Diller?
Hey, listen, New Jersey was crazy. All right. So she turns the TV off, right? And we're all just like, what the fuck is going on? And we're learning, hey,
Hey, I was watching that.
hey, this building was on fire. I'm watching
Get out
it.
of here.
And so we're just like, all anyone wants to do is figure out what's going on. And this chemistry teacher's like, no, there's an oxygen and there's a nitrogen, and it's an oxygen. I don't know. I'm not a chemistry major. Yeah,
She
Yep.
sounds like the
Yes.
worst chemistry
Yes.
teacher ever.
she is and was and still is.
This is why you didn't learn
What's a
about
covalent-
covalent bonds
What's
till
a
21
covalent
Jump Street.
bond? Yeah, that's right. See, yeah,
Exactly.
I know what you're going for. Anyway,
What was her name? We just want to call out two more people.
I have no idea what her name was. I don't know.
You remember the class. Okay, continue.
Mrs. Awful
Professor
Chemistry.
Phyllis Diller.
I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah,
Is that French?
I don't know why they hired her for chemistry. So
Les
this is
Awful.
awful at chemistry. We're gonna hire you as our chemistry teacher. Annie Hoover. And so we get to lunch. The next period is lunch, and the second tower is on fire, and the first tower is already collapsed. And we're all like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, that was such a huge moment, just like watching that.
That's what I mean. So going from one thing to like, oh, a plane hit a building, and then an hour later, this all happening, we're all super confused. Other people are trying to catch us up. People's parents are calling the school saying, hey, I'm coming to pick up so-and-so. People are trying to call their parents. So at this time, my older sister is attending college at NYU. So in Manhattan.
Oh wow.
No one can reach her. So my parents can't reach her because all the cell towers are just fucked
just
up.
completely fucking.
There's no information. You don't know if she was
So-
right outside the World Towers at that point.
Exactly. So she's going to classes, and we have no clue where she is, because obviously when you actually when you go through what happened that day, it's not just like the two towers fell and that was it. No, buildings and blocks were destroyed.
Yeah.
So of course my family's freaking the fuck out, wondering where my sister is, and kids are being pulled out of school. People don't know what's going on. So for the rest of school, all you did was go from classroom to classroom and watch TV. That's all you did. The teachers didn't
Oh, yeah.
try to teach you
The-
anything. It was
the
really just
whole-
about
At
this.
least in the Northeast,
Yeah,
like everything fucking stopped.
Stopped.
Everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I was on the track team at that point. Everything after school was canceled. Everybody went home. Jesus Christ, I remember I had an MRI on my knees later that night, and I can tell you about like going to the hospital, laying in the MRI machine. I was reading The Hobbit while I was in the MRI machine, and then just like
Lame.
coming out. Yeah, you're right. And like, it's insane. That was 18 years ago. I couldn't tell you what happened 2 days ago, and I can tell you what happened 18 years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, some can. I don't know. I was like 8, and I can't. But I have a bad memory.
That's different.
So,
But you're 8.
That is different.
You
See,
know,
that
so
just speaks to my
Rico and
earlier
I-
point. If
Rico-
people are going to reflect on things differently based
Yeah.
on age.
well, yeah, like for like the Northwest, I know we talked about this a couple episodes ago when we brought up 9/11. It was significant for us because obviously it was America, but we didn't have a connection. Like I didn't know anyone in Manhattan. No one that I grew
Right.
up with really knew anyone in Manhattan or New
Right.
York or anywhere on the East Coast. So for us, it was more just heart wrenching that something like that would happen to our fellow Americans.
Yeah.
But it's more impactful to me now than when I was a kid because now being part of the military, I have kind of that connection to it. And I have more understanding of it now. So like it kind of hits me a little harder than when I was younger. So for me, it really wasn't that resonating as it was with you guys and most people on the East Coast. Most people on the West Coast were just like, wow, that really, really sucks.
Yeah. Like, yes. There are people who I went to high school with whose parents didn't come home that day.
I'm sure.
Because all they did was go to work that day. Was it? Jesus, I'm going to show my ignorance. Right? Was it a Tuesday? Do you remember?
It was a Tuesday. It was exactly a
Was
Tuesday.
it a Tuesday? Okay. Yeah. 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 That's. I just. Fuck.
I just Googled it because I can't exactly remember where I was. I could swear that like my family was getting ready to go to the lake or go boating when it happened,
Man.
but it was a Tuesday, so that doesn't make sense. And I don't remember being in school at the time though, or maybe it was just something like I was in.
So you would have
fucking
been.
what?
You would have been what? 2 hours behind the East Coast.
Well, yeah.
It happened at. So I would have been going from second to third period. So we're talking like 9,
8, 9, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was at home. School was canceled.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
That happened a lot.
I think school was canceled at that point.
I could tell.
Because I remember being home. I just couldn't remember why. And I remember staring at the TV and like
Yep.
my dad trying to explain it to me.
Yep. I remember walking from one end. I remember walking from this end of the hallway to the other. I'm picturing it in my head. For all you listeners, if you have telepathy, you're welcome. And this dumbass kid coming running, being like, "The Chinese bombed us." Man.
So with that, like I said, people have different resonating things, and it's hallowing for me. It's harrowing, or however you say that word that actually means something. It's that to me to have people that I'm close friends with that remember it in that way. It kind of helps me kind of understand it a little bit better. And I wish we talked about it more than what we do just this one time a year.
Yeah.
And I think it also reflects upon the military. We have this amazing innate ability to pass over darkness.
Yeah.
Like it happens,
Yeah.
we accept it, we acknowledge it, and then we go, okay, cool.
100%.
We can't focus on bad things that happen. Someone dies out at a fucking wash rack and we're good the next week. Someone that we worked with on a daily basis dies in a training accident while they're back in the States, and we focus on that for a few days and then we pass over. We have this weird innate ability to do so, which is a survival technique for us. But on that note of my brothers and sisters in uniform, as the other two on this podcast, I want to make a specific thanks to the people who were in the military at that time and for the people that joined up for that reason. You saw disaster, you saw a time of need in your country, and you joined up knowing shit was going to go down. People that joined up when I joined up 8 years ago, we knew there was a possibility of going to war, but we weren't joining up to go to war.
Yeah, there was a certain.
We knew it could happen and we were okay with it, but we weren't like, we're going to war, let's do this shit. You guys did it specifically to go fuck people up in the name of those, what was it, 2,996 victims that died. Yeah, 3,000 people that died in that attack. You went to go fight for them. And I thank you with the bottom of my heart to all of you that had the balls and the intestinal fortitude to do such a thing. And it's just, it's a harrowing moment. Thank you everyone for that.